Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Capital Combat Parley.
The podcast where we talk about combat sports in the capital. It kind of has a Master Yoda reverse thing going on there.
It's all about the reverse thing, that's right. And that's in the National Capital Region here in Ottawa. That's Ottawa and Gatineau, for people who don't know. And what's this podcast all about? Why are we doing this?
Well, I think that the Ottawa-Gatineau region is a hotbed of martial arts and competitive martial arts, traditional martial arts, all sorts of stuff. It's an absolute hotbed for amateurs and pros, and no one else is doing it.
True.
And quite frankly, I think we're the guys to do it because we got the 3 M's, right?
Three M's.
We've been involved in media.
That's right.
Martial arts and marketing for the last, 20, 25 years. I don't want to say how old I am, but I'm Lewis Hill, and I work in television production. I'm a stand-up comedian, and I've stepped into the realm of managing fighters, and I'm a lifelong martial artist. And this is Garmamie, Sideau.
Yes, my name is Garmamie, Sideau. Thank you for that. I am a communications and marketing professional here in the National Capital Region. I'm currently working on an independent documentary on judo and jiu-jitsu, the amateur sports development of judo and jiu-jitsu in Ethiopia. That has brought me to Austria, Germany, and obviously Ethiopia. And I'm obviously involved in the martial arts as well. I've grappled. I've done a variety of different styles here in Ottawa, and as well as Gatineau, technically. And yeah.
We grappled last weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, that was painful.
Yes, my neck still hurts.
But this region, I do believe, is a hotbed. We have a lot of options for competition for the amateurs and pros, be it kickboxing, Muay Thai, mixed martial arts, and submission grappling. We have the Sub X tournament, the grappling tournament, Submission Arts United. We got ground games. We got Rec Pro MMA making its comeback. We got Hybrid Pro MMA. We got Heroes Combat League, which Garmamie and I are the color commentators for that league. So check it out. And it's all brought the level of martial arts in this region to it's just exploded. Everything's fantastic.
It sure has, and it's interesting because although there's this huge community of different stylists and athletes and competitors, be it recreationalists or professionals, I feel as though there is not enough. Correct me if I'm wrong. You tell me what you think. There's not enough. Communicating between different scenes, right? Like between those who practice boxing and kickboxing, to those who practice judo or Brazilian jiu-jitsu, so on and so forth, to those who compete in amateur and professional MMA. I feel there's not enough, storytelling and whatnot. Regionally.
That may be true. There's definitely not enough storytelling, and I think that's where we come in.
That's it.
As far as communications between the different arts goes, there's always room for improvement, but it's never been better. The reality is, in the information age and with everybody cross-training these days, and with all these different events, like when you go to one of these events, be it amateur or pro, there's 7 to 10 gyms just from the region represented at these events. Like there's a lot of good places to train in this city, and there's a lot of good competitors, and there's a lot of good recreationalists as well.
For sure. You mentioned the whole color commentating at the
Heroes Combat League.
Right. How was that? The last show you were there, as well as you were there with Cajun Johnson, UFC fighter.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
It was an amazing experience. It's interesting because, as you know, when you commentate with me, I like to take the lead and interject some humor. Right. With Cajun Johnson there, Garmamie had to be at a wedding, so he couldn't be there. But with Cajun Johnson there, I can't take the lead. He's the expert. He's the pro fighter, and quite frankly, he's one of the best commentators I've ever heard. He could have a real future in this. He picks out little nuances of every fight and little things, and he calls it so accurately. And he's got the gift for gab, like many of us do. So,
do you think he's going to pursue that venture?
I hope he does. It's my understanding that he is also one of the best coaches this country has.
Really?
Yeah, he just
for mixed martial arts.
For mixed martial arts.
Okay.
He just coached the amateurs at the World Amateur Mixed Martial Arts tournament in Vegas during Fight Week.
Okay.
And he was one of Canada's coaches. And man, I've seen that guy pick apart a fight, and they're pretty lucky to have him as a coach. I'll tell you that.
Right on. So the UFC was recently in Ottawa, and I was at another wedding, and I couldn't go. But my friend here,
Marriage,
Lewis.
am I right?
Yeah, seriously. Well, it was a great wedding. Anyways, my friend here, Lewis, went to this UFC fight night. I believe was it 89?
I had I had some beers. I won't lie to you.
Fair enough. 89 beers. How was the show?
It was a fantastic show. It was really, really hot, and that's the first answer you will generally get from anyone because I guess the TD place had air conditioning trouble, and that's all well and good. But it was a really good show with really good fighters, and the Ottawa fans went crazy.
Really?
So I feel like the UFC was impressed, and they will come back here.
They will come back.
I do believe it. Tom Wright, the president of UFC Canada, said as much as well. He said there's a number of dates they're looking into for future Canadian dates, and a second trip to Ottawa is now on the map because of how well things went. Air conditioning aside.
I think by then they'll have the air conditioning.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I obviously I didn't go to the event, but when I tried to read up on the different stories that that were surrounding the event. I heard a lot about the the lack of air conditioning, and it was hot and humid. But I almost think, hey, you know what? That probably adds to the experience in terms of you're seeing people fight. It's hot. You got to drink beer. You got to hydrate. You got to drink water. I mean, I'm saying that as someone.
I don't know if you know how to hydrate correctly.
No? Well, I don't know. I'm wondering.
It was definitely part of it. The thing is, when you go for the prelims, which we always do, we go for the first fight to the last fight. That's a long day. It ended up being like 6 or 7 hours.
Holy, 6 or 7 hours at the venue.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So that's a long time to be really hot. I mean, we definitely, we drank a lot of water. We drank some beers too. Let's not kid ourselves. But it kind of felt like, maybe it had that Thailand vibe, like things were really hot. But for me, I dressed in flip-flops and shorts and a t-shirt. There was other people dressed really cool there,
like in suits and
with their jeans and trying to look the part. And man, I felt really bad for them. We all looked like sweaty messes by the end of the night.
How are the fights? Who stole the show? Which fight, in your opinion, stole the show?
I mean, people will tell you that Bosse, he will be the favorite. He got the standing ovation. He won his fight, and it was a slobber knocker. It was like a hockey fight. For me,
slobber knocker.
The headline fight was Rory McDonald and Wonder Boy. It was just such a display of technique and footwork and angles and hard punches. And when you can make Rory McDonald miss, it just shows a skill level. Now, of course, you got your casual fans who are booing and put him in a body bag, and a lot of people, as a matter of fact, left after the third round.
Really?
Not realizing it was a 5-round fight, and they were bored with that fight anyway. But as a technician, I really enjoyed that fight.
They were actually booing.
Some people were booing. Yeah, there's all people who boo. Why do you go to a fight to boo? Why do you go anywhere to boo? Stay home.
Maybe they were drunk and sweaty. And
you want to boo? Grab a mirror. I was drunk and sweaty and I was cheering.
Did any fights break out in the audience?
Not that I seen, actually.
No.
It could have happened. I mean, luckily, we were pretty close to the octagon, so we didn't see any of that. I mean, you see a lot of characters, and I mean, quite frankly, we were characters as well. Sure. And that's part of the appeal. It's part of the fun, Everyone let loose in Ottawa, which is a rare thing for Ottawa to
Seriously,
do.
Yeah.
And I think it's good for them. Let loose a bit, Ottawa. Well, loosen that tie.
That's it. And we hope to see, the UFC back in town, and hopefully, at the next if they do come back, we plan to be there at the media conference and. Posing and asking questions. So there's plenty of martial arts dojos in town in the Ottawa-Gatineau region. Lewis, can you tell us what's happening in the local scene?
Well, I mean, right now the kind of buzz is Ottawa Fight and Fitness reopening. Now they closed. I believe they had some flooding issues and some issues with the landlord, and they had to relocate. And of course, that took some time, and there was a lot of renovations going on. But the buzz is they're going to open next week. But yeah, anyone who knows Sasha Hijazi, he's a great coach, former professional Muay Thai fighter. His students love him. They're very loyal to him. And there's a real buzz, you know. He's added submission grappling to his curriculum as well, taught by Damien Saborin from Arcana.
Cool.
And, you know...
Is this? Are you breaking this? Is this news? Is this?
I'm
this
not
official?
breaking this. This is official. This is official.
Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, again, anyone who knows Damien knows that he's the man when it comes to submission grappling. Same thing. Very respected in the community. Very inspirational coach. Good guy. And both guys, super handsome. Not that that has anything to do with it, but it helps. But when you get Damien's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Sasha Hijazi's Muay Thai and 5,000 or so square feet, I could be getting that wrong.
Wow.
5,000 or so square feet of gym, man, you got a real game changer for this region.
Do you know? Do we know their website? It can appear right now.
Absolutely, yeah. The magic of television.
It'll cost you $50 to plug your. Okay, kidding.
And you know, quite frankly,
product placement. No.
I would like to get Sasha on this, and I'm going to talk to him about bringing him on here after his gym opens. Okay. I'm sure he's renovating every day. As a matter of fact, you can see the pictures on Facebook. But I'd like to get him on here and talk to him about, you know, everything that happened, because I could be lying about half this stuff. I don't know. I think I got half the story, maybe a quarter of the story.
Well, I'm sure our fans are going to, you know, not fry you and send emails.
Absolutely
and complain.
Not. Hate mail, hey.
You know, I mean, it's our first episode, people. Give us a friggin' break, okay?
You can hate all you want. The price of admission is a click, as far as I'm concerned.
A click!
After that, say whatever you want.
Click!
Other things we have going on in the region, Sub-X Grappling Tournament number 2, the second one, takes place September 24th at Pierre Arthur Gurtin. There's a 100% chance I pronounced that wrong. That's my English getting in the way. Submission only, 8-man no-gi tournament. We're going. It's going to be awesome. And then they have a list of other bouts as well. People listed on there. I don't want to confirm or deny because I don't know what's official at this point.
Sure.
But that's going on. Rec MMA, Pro Mixed Martial Arts in the NCR at the Casino de Lac Limi. That's August 18th.
And they're making a comeback.
They're making a comeback, yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
And it's fantastic because, like I said, the level of amateur in this region is amazing. And then where do you go when you top out at that? Now we have 2 pro leagues in the region.
Right.
Hybrid Pro and Rec MMA. And, well, that's where they go. And you're just going to see, I believe you're just going to see development through the ceiling of the NCR.
That's it.
And we're gonna put UFC in Ottawa every year.
That's it. Every year, Tom Wright's going to come here.
Of course, after that, Heroes Combat League, August 19th.
That's the next day, right?
That's the next day, and you'll see our ugly mugs there commentating, if I'm not mistaken. And we do love that job. And
we'll do commentating for anyone. Really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just send us an email.
Yeah, we're easy.
You know, just reach out to us. You want us to comment? You know, it will cost some money.
It costs some money. We're not free.
Whatever, you know, yeah.
I'm no longer working for exposure, if that's what you mean.
Do you want exposure?
Do you take exposure at the bank? Yeah.
Do you have a recent story from, because Lewis is a video production professional, and I just wanted to know if you had any stories with clients coming to you and saying, hey, do it for free, you know, you'll get exposure.
It happens all the time. It happens literally all the time.
Now, what do you do when someone says, like, hey, you need exposure, here you go, kid.
I laugh. I don't need exposure. Yeah. I'm old. I'm exposed. Decently or indecently, however you want to word it. Now, also coming up in the region on September 3rd is the Robert Paturel seminar at Ottawa Fight and Fitness. Again, I'm pronouncing that wrong. Like, you know, my French is terrible. And he's a French martial artist. He's a 6-time French Savate champion and a former police officer. So he teaches a whole bunch of different, you know, self-defense type things mixed with, of course, the competitive aspect. And it's being put on by Michel Dorian at Ottawa Fight and Fitness. Check it out. Go to Ottawa Fight and Fitness website. Hit up Michel Dorian on Facebook. He loves that stuff. And yeah.
That's interesting. Savate, I've never actually seen in this region. Maybe there was a scene for that French boxing Savate, but That's interesting that they're
Well, he's traveling. He's traveling from somewhere. He's,
okay,
he's
maybe from
he's,
France, yeah?
I believe from France. He's certain. I should have done my research a little better. He's certainly not from this area. They're flying him in, and
Wow.
Sabat, he can kick your head off.
Yeah,
That's what I'm guessing.
It's a vicious style. People YouTube Sabat.
Oh, boy.
French boxing.
There's an interesting YouTube video I saw. A drunk went into a Sabat studio and challenged the guy.
I think I might have seen
it. It ends how you think it ends.
Yeah. Drunks, man. Drunks. So, Louis, as you know, we've recently heard that Georges St-Pierre, GSP, is going to be making a comeback.
It's huge. It's huge.
It's huge. It is. It's. I mean, he's I think the most famous, or let me rephrase that, the most recognized combat sports athlete in Canada. Athlete in general. Forget combat sports.
Absolutely.
Didn't he get I think back to back the best athlete
the Sportsnet award? I believe he did, and he's crossed over the mainstream. He was in a Captain America movie. Mm-hmm. He's had Gatorade and Under Armour for sponsors.
Right.
That's a big deal, man. That's a superstar. Plus, arguably, one of the greatest fighters who ever lived.
No doubt about that. And he's an ambassador of the sport. He is the
100%.
PR person you want to send out. The guy acts accordingly. He carries himself like a professional.
True martial artist.
No doubt about that.
Right.
As all these guys who, if they really want to, take themselves serious, and if they want to, generate revenue from other streams besides just stepping into the ring and fighting, you have to think outside the box. I know it sounds cliche, but you are a brand, right? He carries himself like a brand. And, I think him coming back to the sport is great for the sport, because I think the UFC needs, it needs its heroes. You got to bring in the draw, right? You got to bring in someone that brings in the fans. And one thing is, I don't think he should come back and fight. I don't see the point. He's already climbed the mountain. You know what I mean? He's what else can he accomplish? He's accomplished everything. You know what I mean? Like he's the best fighter this country's ever produced as far as mixed martial arts, and quite possibly internationally, whatever, one of the top 10 of all time, so on and so forth. So why is he making a comeback? I hate it when people are on top. You know what I mean?
You don't want to see him lose. You don't want to see that taken away from him.
No, because there's an entire narrative behind his accomplishments, And the problem is this: it's a slippery slope. We saw this with Anderson Silva, right? Remember how they were plugging Anderson Silva, the greatest, and he was amazing, man. He could draw, and he
still is amazing.
He is amazing, but he kept, he's getting older, and of course these people.
Father Time is a motherfucker.
No doubt.
Fact,
But the
man.
thing is this: it's like when you are on top and you've reached the highest of the highest, of course you're always motivated to grab more. But the best thing you can do, the most respectful thing you can do for your sport, for yourself, is to respectfully just bow out and transition into other ventures. Because let's say he comes back and gets smoked, and then let's say he books a rematch and gets smoked again. What the legacy and all these accomplishments, you know what I mean?
I disagree 100%, and here's why. I don't believe Anderson Silva's losses diminish his legacy. As an example, you were comparing him to Anderson Silva. He was still one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. He pulled off things that only Neo from the Matrix could do.
No doubt.
And he broke records, held the title for a long time. Mm-hmm. The way he finished people, walking backwards with a jab, come on.
Right.
So his losses, age catches up with every athlete, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. But as far as Georges St-Pierre coming back, one of the biggest things that I try and defend is freedom. Freedom, Garmamie. And I don't mean freedom. I don't mean like I'm dropping freedom on your country. That's not what I mean. I mean freedom as a personal human being to do what you want. And I defend his right to come back.
I mean, it's great for the sport. I mean,
but
only
he can tell you.
Right.
Only he can tell you whether he should come back or not. And
No doubt.
And if he says yes, look, Georges St-Pierre is a very cold and calculated human being, as we saw during his competitions. Mm-hmm. He would obsess over opponents. Mm-hmm. Look.
But they're going to book him in super fights. You know what I'm saying?
But that's what he wants. He wants a super fight.
you know,
I think he wants to come back. And
if he gets smoked, say he gets knocked out. I mean, and say they do a rematch and he gets like, this legacy and this brand.
Legacy is intact. And look, if he loses, that is why this sport is the greatest sport in the world, because of the high risk and high reward. If there's no risk in a fight, like let's say they booked him to fight me. That's all well and good for his comeback, but there's no risk there.
Book it.
There's no risk there. I'm going to trip on the way in the octagon, and
book it.
Making weight could be a problem.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think GSP thrives on that risk, as many competitive athletes do, and it makes him a better person. And what else is he going to do? He's like, when people say, when you're in the forest, it's summertime, it's Canada, you're getting stung by mosquitoes, and like, I wish they wouldn't bite me. What else are they going to do? They're mosquitoes.
True.
That's what they do. They bite people. They lay eggs. They get squished.
It's just, I think there's so much more, he's accomplished so much within the sport, respectfully, that there's so much more he can do in terms of being an ambassador, in terms of public relations for the UFC and other combat sports, amateur combat sports like, wrestling, maybe even judo and taekwondo, these amateur sports, maybe he can, even in terms of anti-bullying campaigns, there's so many other career
But I
paths.
feel he has done that
within
his career.
For sure.
You'll see him doing
No
a workout at a karate school.
No doubt. I just don't want to see the guy lose, is what I'm saying. Because if he loses, you know what I'm saying? Like, if he loses, just like we've seen other guys who come back and they lose and then they slip, and it's like,
dude, I'm coming back. I'm coming back to submission grappling.
You hear that? Who are you going to call out now?
I'm not calling out anyone. Are you
Come
crazy? I'm going to go out in that awesome division that they have for people like me. It's called Masters.
Oh, yes.
And it's not because we're a master of anything.
Right.
It's because we're old. And I like it. I'll be doing that.
Exposed.
I haven't competed in 4 years. I had a nasty injury. But I'm coming back. Look,
You want to tell us about your injury?
We'll do a whole. I had a nasty concussion.
That's going to be a great
That's
episode,
a whole episode
for all you, fighters. I think people will.
I think so.
People who compete in contact and combat sports, would find that debate of concussions are an important one. That's right. That's right.
Armbar. As a matter of fact, I've had, I think, 2 submissions in competition, and one of them was an armbar.
Nice.
And it was the worst armbar in the world. And
But it worked.
Terrible.
But it worked.
And when the guy tapped, instead of passing my guard, I was like, "Holy shit!
It worked."
Oh my god!" And it sucked. But
Do you remember who the opponent?
I don't. It was at a Grappler's Quest at the UFC Expo in Toronto. It was fantastic. But we were all at that level pretty terrible. But that's okay. I mean, it's competition. That's how you get better.
That's it.
Anyway,
so this has been our first episode.
and
here.
what an episode!
Indeed, at Capital Combat Parley. And what's the future for us here? What's happening?
Well, look, we want to do a lot more podcasts. We have a lot of ground to cover for conversations while keeping the subject matter. We'll keep it short. We understand the short attention spans of the kids these days.
Millennials.
Like, what if a squirrel runs by? But we want to have a bunch of different guests on it. We want to have everyone in the mixed martial arts and combat sports scene, the coaches, the fighters, the competitors, gym owners. We want to have it all. And we want to take it on the road. We want to do this podcast from different locations.
Sure.
Be it a gym, be it on the mats, wherever. So I think that's what the future holds. Stay tuned. We're going to have a lot more podcasts to come. We're in the podcast world, man.
We are, man. We are.
You've been in the podcast world for a while, but this
Conversations with
you
Garmamie.
should check it out. This is my first.
Facebook.
This is my first podcast.
There you go.
And now I feel
So, Lewis, where can people find this great podcast?
Well, see, Garmamie, I'm the creative guy. I'm a good editor, a good storyteller, the stand-up comedian, the space head. You're the marketing guy, man. You tell me where the people can find it.
www.cancombatgroup.com. That's CAN combat. I hope you can spell combat. And it's with a C, by the way, not a K. Combatgroup.com. There'll be elements on screen that'll tell you where to go.
You'll see it on the social media as well. Maybe,
for sure.
Do you guys the kids know about the social media today?
Yeah,
it's going to be huge.
It's going to be huge.
Facebook is
It's
really
on
going to
Facebook.
blow up. I think.
We've got a Can Combat group is on Facebook.
Yeah.
Make sure you hit like and make sure you share this episode because it's our focus is Ottawa Gatineau, folks. We want to represent you people.
Yeah.
Okay.
The fighters, the competitors,
That's
all,
it. You
all,
people.
all martial arts in the capital region. And if you want to talk to us, hit us up.
That's it.
You know where to find us.